months ago, Elon Musk basically bought Twitter for $44 million. Dude is rich as hell, so he can do whatever the fuck he wants with his money.
True.
And basically, recently, speaking of that, like ever since he bought Twitter, people have been dropping from the company. Like people have been just finding other jobs. People just been ever since he just took over Twitter, he just dropped. Like a lot of people just decided like, nah, it's gonna go out of hand. He's gonna drop from the company. Forget this, nah. And recently, maybe like 2 3 days ago, Elon Musk is pulling out of the Twitter deal, so he's no longer CEO of Twitter anymore. So will people say that he dodged the bullet? Yes,
Yeah, definitely. Definitely
but
dodged the bullet.
will people say that he will probably lose a lot of money from it? Also, yes.
It's probably gonna make a dent, barely make a dent in that man's wallet.
I mean, the man is already nearer like what he's already a billionaire, so he's like
He will
halfway
be
a
fine.
billionaire.
And Twitter will live without him because the people on there are too much of crackheads to let it suffer.
I mean, all right, give your opinion about the whole thing, Justice. Let me hear your thoughts.
Uh, I thought when I heard about him buying it in the first place that he was buying it for fun. Because this man is literally just doing all the crap in the world for fun. Like he wanted to tease people a little bit, like, hey, how would y'all feel if I bought Twitter? Kind of thing. Because everyone was harping at him for, yo, oh my god, you're so rich, you're just gonna randomly fly into space. So he was like, yeah, I have the power to do that with my money. I could own your social media platforms too. So I really wasn't taking it seriously. And I was like, what's he gonna do? He's gonna buy it. He's probably gonna update it, try to make it look as close to Instagram as possible. And after that, like that would probably be it. Like he would just be raining in bills from the amount of people using Twitter because people aren't ever gonna stop using it. Like I like when it came if it comes down to social media platforms and which ones I would give up quickest, like I'm probably on Twitter more than I'm on Instagram, Snapchat. I just use Twitter more. The people on Twitter are also funnier. Like the only brand that could probably compete to where like I had to pick would be TikTok. And you pick it between TikTok and Twitter. He would have just been making money. Um, I think the downfall of it is him dropping out is that he probably saw how many people were like in the corporate side of it, not on like the marketing side of it, and the people who are using Twitter going down, but the people who work for Twitter who like you're the reason it functions, it's like it stays moving forward. All of them quitting all of a sudden because they just don't want to work underneath them. Like he dodged the bullet because that would have been a lot to try to rebuild, and a lot of money would have to go into it, more money than probably than what he was spending to try to buy it. So it's probably cheaper for him to get out of that contract and try to rebuild the Twitter company and the Twitter name.
All right, and I see that. I mean, the reason why he bought Twitter in the first place to give anybody like a basically a freedom of their like freedom of speech, so they can express their own opinion. That was the real reason why he bought Twitter in the first place. But Twitter is a hassle in general on its own, just to just for it to do that because people like to just either like even like when
People
people
are always gonna say what they say. I'm just happy there's like certain states who are finally like who pay attention to that to where like they have laws saying like if you post certain things that of you saying certain things that are acts of violence or seem like call to actions, you can be arrested and charged for it no matter what your age is. Like I think I recently saw a video of it was like a 13-year-old kid or something like that, either on a game or like on some type of social media platform that he was using with friends, who reported him because he uh, was like the mom let it like basically said, well, he was just letting out his aggression. Why isn't he allowed to say what he wants to say? And like the cop was trying to explain to her, like, ma'am, your son threatened to shoot up a school. Any type of verbal threat, whether or not he does it or not, doesn't matter. The fact that he said he would automatically makes it a crime. Like, yeah, you have your freedom of speech, but freedoms are limited, and people I think forget that all the time. All of
yeah
your
honestly
freedoms are limited. That doesn't mean you don't have the right to do them. It just means you also have to face the consequences when you enact certain freedoms to where you're crossing boundaries. Like, no one is, like, for example, right? Assault's illegal. You're not supposed to hit someone, right? Yeah, anytime we talk about equal rights, people talk about equal fights. That makes no sense to me. You have the physical right. No one is holding you back to throw a fist at someone and to start a fight with someone, regardless of gender. Yes, you always have that right. But that person also has the right to press charges against you for assault, and you can go to jail for it. And in the end, you ruined your own life. They didn't ruin it. Yes, you have the right to do whatever you want with your body. As soon as what you're doing with your body is harming another person, and I'm not referring to abortions because I don't believe fetuses are another person. Let me make that clear. As soon as you enact violence against someone else, that right is no longer yours. You have crossed the boundary, and the government we live in today, especially the ones who are so proud of the American government, says you can't do that. If you're going to be so proud of your government, follow the laws of it. Stupid. I sound so Republican right now. I know. It sounds so stupid, but it's true. Yes, you have freedoms. Your freedoms will always be limited. And unfortunately, there's a lot of freedoms that aren't limited enough that needs to change. And if you want that to change, go vote. Only so many people could try to change from the inside. You gotta vote. You gotta vote for the people you want to make those. I think you should be allowed to say whatever you want to say without the cops pulling up at your door. Go vote. Find the people who made those laws. See if you see a better candidate fit for the job to make that change. If you think gun rights should be more restricted, go vote. Certain things may be out of our control, but the things that are, just pay the fuck attention to it. Like, him buying Twitter for freedom of speech is like the most fucking ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
I mean, it's like when I heard about it, I was like, okay, you're giving more people like a freedom to express themselves, but there's a limit to that.
It was more of an anti-fact checking thing than anything, because it was more of, I think that anyone should be able to post whatever they say, even if they believe it to be fact and it's false, without Twitter. Like, you remember when Twitter was going through that thing of, like, they'll put a tab saying, here's actually more information up about COVID-19. Anytime someone posted anything that looked like they were posting facts about COVID-19. And they would, like, Twitter added a separate link, or they would say, this tweet has actually been deemed false, so that it would prevent misinformation. Preventing misinformation is not a bad thing. And especially when it came to COVID-19, that I felt like that was very important to let people know, hey, I know you're reading this tweet, and you may believe what this influential person is saying, but what they're saying is not scientifically fact. Oh, the problem with that is that because people trust the government so little, and they believe every media conspiracy, that every social media company is owned by the government, therefore, the government's lying to us, and this can't possibly be true. It's too much. This all happened because people don't trust the government, which some of us have a right to, because the government hasn't exactly been on our side. But all this happened because people didn't trust the government. They trusted their influential people that they thought were telling the truth. And yet, people following so blindly is what led to the January 6th insurrection and the multiple amount of riots that were portrayed to be basically in the name of Black lives, when it turns out a lot of the people starting the riots or were trying to start a riot were secret cops who were in the middle of protests, were people who claimed to be white allies and doing it in the name of Black lives, and then it spun out of control. Like, all this shit is because people don't know the truth, and they don't know where to look for the truth at, or how to do their own research, either because they don't want to, or because they're so easy to blindly believe everything they read. And it's insane. Buying, like, all this Twitter stuff feels like it's just a distraction from the things that are actually going on. Yes, Elon Musk tried to buy Twitter. He pulled out of it. So what? He's a billionaire. He's gonna do whatever the F he wants. He also needs to be taxed more, but we're not talking about that, are we? The man has too much money, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, he does.
Now, people are like, well, if you work for the money, you earned it, right? Yeah, you earned your money, but at the same time, I feel like even if I became rich, if I was Elon Musk, and I had that money, I wouldn't be just hoarding it or using it for random trips to outer space. Now, he literally used it for a trip to outer space. Now, him donating that to research, completely understandable, especially if you want to look to saving the environment or looking for another planet to move to, because obviously that feels like what we're coming to. Putting research towards that, you have the money for it, go for it. I feel like that's for a good cause. Putting money back into lower communities, offering grants, scholarships, paying off, I don't know, go to a college graduation, pay off all the student loan debt. I don't give a fuck. But there's so much other things you can do with your money than buying a social media platform out of spite.
I mean,
I went on a rant. My bad.
no, but you're good. No, you're good. You're good because like literally it says so that Twitter says that it's clear that Elon's only backing out because the stock market tanked right after he signed the deal in April to purchase for $44 billion. That the company says that dip reduced Musk's wealth by $100 billion, and Twitter valued also slumped, making this offer even more over the company's market value. And it also says Twitter's not buying his excuse about the platform being riddled with bot accounts, calling that a model of hypocrisy. As Twitter puts it, Elon had very publicly said one of his reasons he wanted to buy Twitter was to defeat the spam bots.
That's never gonna happen.
There's always going to be spam bots, no matter what social media
Every
site, no matter
social media
Facebook,
platform.
Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, they're all going to have spam bots. All of them. Like, I don't know who creates the spam bots. Probably like some underground company that we don't know about. But there's always going to be spam bots for each and every company or any social media company that becomes a $1 billion revenue company. Like, what do you expect? And that's your own fault for purchasing. That's your own fault for purchasing a social media platform that was gonna go down. Like that was gonna go down in revenue, like from any moment. No matter if it's a second, a minute, an hour, a day, a week, a month, a couple months to a year, it was gonna happen either way. That's your own fault. You knew what you were setting yourself up for. And now you want to pull out of a $44 billion deal because, oh, stock market's plummeting. I got to pull out before it eats up more of my money. You made dumb decisions a lot of your life. And this was one of the dumbest ones ever. Like, what do you expect?
Like, this dude really has so much money, he's bored.
Honestly, you're like a Jeff Bezos. You're just like a worse Jeff Bezos. That's it.
Jeff Bezos used to be taxed more too. Sheesh. Everyone's so here's it. The amount of I gotta be honest here. The amount of predominantly white Republican men who get so bent out of shape when they hear about taxes going up for the rich. And then I sit there and I realize you're not a part of that rich category, right? You're not the one getting taxed. If anything, you'll probably be a part of the community that needs to receive that money. Especially if you're as hillbilly as I think. I was like, how are y'all so bent out of shape about a bill that wouldn't tax you when it's talking about a higher amount of taxes? You're not getting taxed. It's not about you. Go back to your 9 to 5.
About the poor people. It's about the kind of like the middle class. Cause
I'm pretty sure, if someone did a social experiment, right, where they these could be neighborhoods right next to each other. They took all being middle, like, because people say it's a class and she's not a racist. She was like, what are the predominant races you see in those classes? But let's not talk about that. Like in Texas, for example, right? Like we have two cities right next to each other. We have Flower Mound and we have Louisville. I'm from Louisville, right? But I was lucky enough to do a in-district transfer because they're all in the same school district to go to a school in Flower Mound. Flower Mound is suburbs, nice houses, barely any apartment complexes. People look pretty well off there, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have Louisville, which is almost nothing but apartment complexes, predominantly black and Latina, compared to the Flower Mound, predominantly white. Right next to each other. They live right next to each other. Yet, when you talk to people from Louisville, yeah, we'll be like, yeah, we heard gunshots last night, or a SWAT team showed up to the apartment because the apartment got raided, or all this like over-policing and more violence happening in those areas and stuff like that, because people are fighting to survive, to stay in these apartments that keep raising rent because they want to be like the neighboring city. If someone did a social experiment where they took all the white people from the neighborhoods, right, and just put them in these rundown ghetto neighboring cities that are like they drive past them every day for work, they think, oh, it's not that big of a deal, it's just next door, and put them in there, made them stay there for 2 months under the same income that these people have to earn for any type of circumstance, whether it's because they're undocumented immigrants, because they didn't go to college, or they only were able to get their GED, or these are just the only jobs available that will hire them because of the way they look. Under the exact same income, living in those areas. And then, put the black communities, the Latino communities, those nice suburban houses, just for like 2 months. I'm pretty sure white people change your tone so fast to, oh my God, this is so unfair, this is oppressive. Like, go work a cut. I feel like it. I'm just gonna say it. I feel like the government should require, like, I remember doing an argument say like the government was supposed to require like every high school graduate to serve 2 years in the military, right? I didn't support that, but I would support the U.S. government requiring every high school graduate to serve 2 years in retail customer service. I feel like that would change the dynamic of our society so much if you just knew the experiences. People think these lower income people are being lazy, they're not trying, they're all criminals. I'm like, no, they're trying. But at this point, I was like, they're so tired of trying, they're willing to stoop down to rob you so that they survive because you aren't helping with crap. You're just making it worse because you're like, oh, the boat's not sinking. Yes, it is. The boat's always been sinking. It just hasn't reached your part of the boat yet. We're drowning over here, people. Sheesh.
Oh no,
money on useless crap.
I mean, a lot of people spend money on useless shit that they don't need, and then like it's weird how it always happens because we like a lot of people spend money on useless stuff that we don't need to the point now you like the money. Now you could have saved that money. You could put you every time you had you were at your job or you're at your job. You could have put like a good amount of money away. Use the rest out for groceries, and utilities, and bills and everything and probably whatever got to get done around the house, you would have that money to do stuff like that or to go on vacation. But now you got to scrape up and now you got to like sell the stuff that you basically don't need in the first place. You thought it was good at the time, but now you don't need, and now you're doing yard sales and like garage sales and stuff like that just to sell stuff to get a little bit of money just to do whatever you got to do, which is sad, but it's true.
Like people anytime people are every time I hear for example how people have those phrases that are really triggering for them, it could be something so simple, right? I would say for me it's anytime a political person is running for a campaign or people are talking about politics, they just say the words hard on crime. They want someone who's hard on crime, right? There's certain crimes that are committed that I believe are forgivable, right? Like there's some people no matter what the crime is, you should go to jail, right?
Yeah.
Smoking weed, I feel is forgivable, right? Even certain forms of drug dealing, I believe is forgivable. Now, I do understand the impacts of addiction as someone who has addiction running their family. I do understand the impacts of how you being someone who sells drugs are putting someone at risk of overdose and death. Yes, that is a possibility, right? At the same time, the pharmaceutical industry is doing the exact same thing with the amount of opioids they have also sold in the past that were the cause of a lot of addictions that they never paid for, of a lot of people who died who never got justice for what happened to their families because these drug industries care about all they really care about is that the money's going to them and not to the exact same people who will be selling the exact same drugs to the exact same people they wanted to sell drugs to in the first place and making the money off of it, and they're not. It's a scam in my eyes. You can call me a conspiracy theorist, I really don't care. But the fact that we're so rooted in making money and being quote unquote hard on crime that we're actually ruining people's lives who are doing the exact same thing that these quote unquote morally correct industries are doing is, for lack of better words, bullshit. It is
Whoa.
absolute bullshit.
I mean, like with the whole I'm gonna just say one more thing before we move on to the next topic. The whole thing about the marijuana, like how marijuana used to be illegal, and I mean it's still illegal in some states. Not it's not legal in all states yet, but they're like what they used to do with like people that do marijuana, like selling and stuff. They're being more laid back about the law now. They're being more laid back about like the marijuana like charges and laws now because like it's more legal. So like when it's legal now, they
Like
like
people
police
don't
and
realize that. Like I feel like it's so bad. Honestly, this is a really bad argument. I usually don't recommend it in any other situations. But when you make things illegal, like when it feels out of nowhere, you just make them illegal. It seems that the people that are no longer allowed to do it are more likely to do it. Like people understand why murder is illegal. You killed somebody. People understand why rape is illegal. You harmed somebody. But when it's things dealing with your own personal body, because here's the thing, it's autonomy, right?
hmm
When you make something illegal, it doesn't stop it from happening. If anything, I feel like it increased. When they raised the age of smoking in the state of Texas to 21 instead of 18,
hmm
next thing I know, I'm seeing elementary schoolers vape. I have
really?
never seen a fourth grader walk past me with a vape before.
Wait, are
And
you
that was a
serious?
culture. I'm completely serious. Like there's vaping and smoking now in fourth grade for whatever they can steal for their parents, they older teen siblings who are letting them try it because now they know they're not supposed to and they feel like baddies. Versus when everything was legal at 18, everyone was like, oh, I'm gonna do it, right? Now
hmm
people will easily try this argument against me saying, well, if you make guns illegal, that doesn't mean people are not gonna stop buying guns. And I'm like, yeah, I expect that, but that doesn't mean regulations shouldn't be in place, right? Like I can completely support the United States saying people should smoke until they're past 21 for medical health reasons, stuff like that. Ban, right?
Yeah.
But I also expect that yeah, there's definitely going to be some people who are going to break that, and a lot of people are going to say, no, I'm 18, I'm an adult. That's bull. Which honestly, that argument makes sense because since the United States views 18-year-olds as adults, you're telling an adult they can't do something versus you telling a kid they can't do something is very different. There's a reason a lot of 21-year-olds aren't that hungover after their 21st birthday. They've had practice.
Oh
They've
yeah, they
had
have
time
practice when like
because
13.
they're an adult. And they don't want to be told as an adult who's now living on their own that you are now requiring to pay taxes, that is allowed to own a gun and allowed to be in the military, and tell them they can't drink.
I don't know, like I don't know.
Like that on our part. But one, our priorities aren't straight on what we're banning, in my opinion. There's some other things that definitely could be banned for kids that we aren't looking at. and and we're banning all the wrong things. Let's just put it that way. We're banning all the wrong things. It's stupid. These bans are stupid. I'm pretty sure if they said weed is now legal at 18, and you can start smoking cigarettes again at 18, it'd probably go down because it doesn't seem that cool anymore.
I mean, that's why people went to vaping and marijuana, because cigarettes just kills you. I mean, but also vaping also kills you because vape, like smoking a vape, is equivalent to smoking a whole box of cigarettes, which people don't know that.
No,
It's like
they always think it's better than smoking. No, it's not.
it's still the same shit, but
It
worse.
just tastes better.
That's
Like, I'm
what it
sorry
does.
your root beer float flavor tastes so good, but you're gonna have to get off that.
It's like diabetes. It's like it's so good, but it will eventually kill you.
Yeah. Like I feel like people's idea with smoking and vaping is the same as lactose intolerant people who still eat cheese.
Or anything based on cheese and milk.
Yeah.
It doesn't
I'm like, how
matter.
you gonna sit there and eat an entire gallon of ice cream when you know
When you know it's gonna give you the runs after.
you gonna be sitting on that toilet for hours. And you
Uh,
know it's gonna happen, but it's so good at that moment to you. You just like, nah, I'm gonna do it. That, like, honestly, survival of the fittest at that point. You really just putting yourself at risk.
oh boy, oh brother, brother, brother.
Like you will get more results by educating people on why they shouldn't and shouldn't do something versus telling them not to do it. I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure if you gave more education on what goes in to being a gun owner, people will be more careful the next time they think maybe I should go to the gun shop and just go ahead and buy me a 9mm.
I don't know. All that like more moral of the topic is just I don't know, just Elon Musk, just do better and just be careful when you're doing stuff like this.
And
Cause
Jeffrey Bezos, both of you do better.
well, like yeah, just do better when you're doing stuff like this. Cause 9 times out of 10, you might think it's a good deal, but really it's not. It's not a good deal when you do it.